Welcome to the channel. We have our first Doffy guide of the OP15 format, and we're going to start it off with Lucy here. Very, very strong deck in the current format. Let's jump into everything we need to know about taking on this leader. So at the time of recording, OP15 is not actually officially out. It's officially out at the end of this week, but the sim has been chugging along nicely, and we have plenty of games to indicate where the meta is sort of falling. Now, I do want to note, we have just had a recent emergency ban, and that was with the pairing of the Rayquaza, Your Help, and the Borsalino. So you can't have a deck with those two in it together. This will affect a lot of the yellow standings, particularly our number 9 slot, which found a way to break this combo. And I do suspect that this will go down in the upcoming weeks. But let's have a quick look here. So at the moment, it's sort of indicating that Enel is at the top. Lucy is number 2nd, and this is the one we're going to cover today. We then have Nami in 3rd place. Nami will get affected by this ban. Ace, number 4. Luffy, number 5. And I think Luffy will get a little bit of a hit here too. Then Emu is still sticking around here. Boa is strong. I don't know that she runs the event, so she might be okay still. I think will stick around, hover around that kind of spot there. Mihawk was, one of the top 3 in the recent formats, and now he's just dropped right back down. Moria there. Bonnie, I think, is a bit, I'm not sure that she should be there, but anyway, this is sort of the ranked format at the minute. Let's see where our leader is sort of positioned though. If you do want to check any of this out, there's a link just on this screen here. This is from Reddit. It's just, do need to acknowledge that this is not mine. This is from the TCG matchmaking. So, shout out to them for bringing us top quality content week after week. All right, so let's talk about some of the data here. Now, I want to start off with Crocodile, and I know this video is not about Crocodile, but this is a very important concept to understand if you're fairly new to the game as a whole. If you have a look at Crocodile here, you can see his win rate for the current time we're at 28.7% into this leader, which is very low. This is our worst matchup by far. But I do want you to note, he is up from a 22% win rate from the last time I did this back in the EBO3 format. He has had a slight change to the deck. He's now utilizing the Luffy, the Nightmare Luffy. And I think as a whole, this is making him stronger into the format. My personal feel is it is making it a little bit easier for us, but I'm not too sure here. I just want you to note that this does change, and previously unfavorable matchups might be favorable and vice versa. So do take note of this list. I have taken out some of the older leaders that we don't see as much, or maybe we do see them, but we just have such a strong win rate into them. Like the Mihawk is no longer on here. He's still at 60%. The ST29 Luffy, the yellow one, is off this list. He's at like 60%. Like, we're winning into that matchup. So I thought, no need to show that. I'm going to show we've got all of the new leaders on this list here, so you can see them all right now. I know this isn't about Lucy, but I thought let's throw it all down there so you know. So I also want to note, with this data that we have here at the moment, it's not including data from the ban list. And I think the ban list is going to be very, very impactful. This will all change very soon. I think a lot of the yellow decks, but all of them except for probably Rosinante, is going to drop. The win rate into those, our win rate into those decks will go up because they won't be able to combo the Borsalino with that event. So I think as a whole, the matchups are going to change, and I think it's going to shift as a whole. I think Enel is going to get stronger in this current format. That'll go up, which is great for us because we have a win rate, a positive win rate into Enel currently. So excited for that. let's have a look though. Our Doffy win rate as a whole is at 49.1%. So as a whole, we need to lift the bar a little bit with our Doffy here. So let's get some guides happening. Let's get you informed with everything you need to know to take on all the leaders and boost up our win rate. Let's do that. The Lucy win rate. So currently Lucy, we are losing this. We are 44.3% win rate into this deck, but there is one other thing with this. I want you guys to understand the newer leaders we tend to lose into. Like early on, the win rate is a lot lower than what it should be because people are still trying to understand how these decks function, and the people playing those decks have played them enough that they understand. So they've got a slight advantage in the recency of that leader there. So I do expect this win rate to go up. I'm sort of saying this deck is about a 50-50 win. I do think though, this is the kind of deck that if you know how it operates, it's a very straightforward deck. If you know how it operates, you should be beating it. And it's very much, it reminds me a lot like the Mihawk deck. Mihawk, we should be winning into that one. We see what we need to see. We have a clear strategy. The strategy will work. We need to just go with that and take this thing down. So let's talk about the strategy a little bit. All right, so I'm going to cover some general strategy. I guess just keep these things in mind. We're going to talk about definitely the win con of Lucy later, and that'll really bring everything back together on how to plan and how to utilize this strategy. And I'll also be talking about the curve as well. So you'll understand this a lot better later. You know, even rewatch the video. I think once you have it all in your mind, it all sort of comes together a little bit better. So first of all, you need to take out their Sabo first. They've got a 7-cost Sabo. Their idea is to build, Sabo after Sabo. If you can take one or two of these out, you are fine. And certainly if you can take out one early and stop that momentum of it building, you can really hold this thing off very easily. It is very hard to take out a Sabo though, so, do your best there. I've got here establish a Virgo early, and it's because I have a lot of removal within the deck, and blue removal, as well as, the red reduce you down and take you out. So very strong. Virgo will protect your characters very, very well. Now you want to establish a big body early, and this is like the 8 cost here or the 10 cost. Something that is able to hit into the Sabo to take it down. The Sabo is very strong. It's a 9,000 power character. So having something that is 9,000 already means you don't need to commit too much, that you can try and take it down while you're still building your board. So get one of those down early so you can keep putting pressure down onto them. We want to go for a board lock with our 10 cost here. So we want to lock down their Sabos. Their Sabos are a 7 cost. So this is perfect for our lockdown. We can lock down their board and just apply pressure. This is something we want to do. We want to make sure we're finishing with the 10 cost. And that's where, if you can, chain the 10 costs, because if you can do back-to-back 10 costs, you will have a very, very strong chance of winning. In fact, I think you chain them and you should be winning. All right, so let's cover our deck as a whole. Now, if you're very familiar with the deck, if you're not new to the Doffy, feel free to skip ahead to the next section. I'll spend a bit of time on the deck because I like to have this as a complete guide. So if you're just coming into Doffy, you get all the information you need from the one video. So bear with me here. If you don't, just have a look in the timestamps. You'll see what the next section is and you can just jump straight to there. This is what I like to call the core of my deck, and I like to break the deck down into different segments of what the utility of each of the cards are offering, so it helps inform my decisions for when I play the cards down. I would say that this is the core of our deck. This is what we need. This is what every Doffy deck should have within it to some degree. And we will also have, on the next slide, we'll have, our other tech options, right? This is the core. I'm not going to go through each individual piece right now. We'll jump ahead and I'll go through them all within the utility segments. So once again, I won't go through everything here, but here is a bunch of tech cards. Some are a bit more prevalent than others. Like I would say Rosinante maybe he's a core card. He probably could be considered a core card. I certainly feel like he might be core for me. I don't think I'd ever remove him. So perhaps he could be placed there now. The other one here is Treble, and I think Treble you'll find in pretty much every Doffy deck. However, I don't think everyone who has them in the deck has ever played this card. This card is coming out when you are in a desperate situation. Here's a 2k counter. There are other 2k counters which offer utility now, like the Nola. Very good. We have, Baby 5 here, which is a searchable 2k. I mean, him being a searchable 2k is great, so I've still got him in my deck for that reason. We do have some other core cards here. I mean, not core cards, tech cards here, which you'll find a lot of use out of. Let's jump into what each of these is offering. So first up, we have Ramp on your turn, and this is a very important concept for the Doffy deck because what your leader is doing is it's negging 1 every time you use the effect. Negging 1 Don, that is, and the Don goes back, you're losing Don. You need a way to ramp your Don back up, and this is what this deck is centered around, this ramp mechanic. Fortunately, we have lots of ramp options here. We have Monet, Sugar, and the Baby 5 on play. They're all ramping 1 active Don. This is amazing. Easy, turn 2 play, you're getting this down. Turn 3 play, you're getting this down. Couldn't ask for more. You can get to your big characters really quickly if you're not using your leader effect, or you can just hover around, your opponent's Don level by using this effect and utilizing these cards. I've tried to divide this up. These at the top are our core cards. We will find this in the core Doffy deck package. These ones here are optional tech cards, which, there might be other tech cards you can find out there. These are ones that I've particularly played with and are very easily slotted into the Doffy deck. So we do have the Picker here, which at the end of your turn ramps 1 active. Not as good because, you can't utilize that Don unless you're playing, holding another one up to use for an event or something like that. There is the 1 cost searcher event. If you're using that event, your Picker does become a little bit better, but as a whole, Picker does ramp 1 active at the end of turn. This one here, you have to discard a card to ramp 1, but what I do like about this is if you're going first, it is a way you can ramp. So you're able to ramp and, get into a 6 cost on your turn 3 if you're going first, which is kind of cool, but at the same time, probably not the best ramp option. You're mostly going to be using this as a 2k if you do have it in your deck. The Rosinante Law is another one that's kind of good. I don't like to think of this as a ramp card as such because you're not going to be able to ramp on curve with this card. You're always going to be ahead of your opponent. Like if you think about a general curve, like without any negging, on your turn until you're both at 10 Don, the turn player will always be 1 Don ahead of the other player. Unless there's been some Don manipulation, the turn player will always be 1 Don ahead. And as such, this card here, it only ramps if you've got less Don than your opponent. That'll never be the case on curve, so you're not going to be able to get the ramp on curve with this card. A little bit of a disappointment, but if we do play the 10 cost later, which does reduce 3, we can use this after that and bring back our Don if we think that's a good plan. Lin I like. Lin on 7. She ramps 1 active as well, just like these ones. So I think she's really good. If you're trying to go second and get 2 Don ramp. So, play a Baby 5 on your turn 2. And, ramp 1 active. And then on your next turn, turn 3, you're playing the Lin down, 7 Don, ramping 1. On your turn 4, you can then drop the 10 cost. Really amazing stuff, but not everyone's cup of tea because it isn't a Don Coyote pirate. All right, let's have a look at ramping on your opponent's turn. So this is another important concept because we do neg Don quite often, And we do have effects to get our Don back on our opponent's turn as well. So this is really, really cool. Once again, divided up between core cards and tech cards. Here we have the Dellinger. Dellinger is my all-time favorite blocker because what Dellinger does is when you redirect into him, he ramps one back. So you neg one off here, go into Dellinger, Dellinger ramps one back. Effectively, you haven't lost any Don from this interaction, and then you get to use his effect, which is searching your top 5 for a Don Coyote Pirate. Really strong. I can't recommend this card highly enough. He will always be a 4-of in this deck. Sugar isn't actually able to ramp on your opponent's turn, but she can pseudo ramp. So I've thrown her in here because she has a really cool effect. On KO, you can play a 5 cost or less from your hand. This is really, really good because it has to be a Don Coyote Pirate, but you could play a Monet or you could play any of the cards from that last list. Let's go back one sec. You can play any of these 4, including Sugar herself, to ramp one active. This is really cool. It is a way that you can get an active Don on your opponent's turn. It is the only consistent way we can get an active Don on our opponent's turn. The other way is through triggering on events. As I said, not consistent. You don't play for that. You can play for this here. So really cool effect as a whole. Monet, not only does she ramp on play, but she also can ramp on your opponent's turn if she is KO'd. So she ramps 2 rested on KO, and she also allows you to draw 2 trash 1. Such a great KO effect. And if you trigger this with, so if you use your leader ability, neg 1, go into the Monet, you get 2 back. So you're +1 for this interaction, +1 Don for this interaction. This is great. So if you are, say, using a 10 cost Doffy, you can, use a 10 cost, neg 3, you're down to 7. On your next turn, you get 2 back, you'd be up to 9. You won't be able to play another 10 cost Doffy. However, if on your opponent's turn, you send their attack into Monet, get her KO'd, you'll be up 1 Don, you'll be up to 8. On your next turn, you'll go up to 10. You can drop another 10 cost Doffy. This is one of the ways that we can achieve this through this Monet effect. Now, as I said, Nora Beam here, it does trigger a Don, so this is one way it can ramp. In terms of our tech cards, we do have treble on the field whenever you neg a Don. Like through our leader effect here, we do get that Don back. That is very, very strong. However, it's fairly a weak card, a 5/5. It's not going to last on the field, and we don't have that many slots on our field to just waste on this card when it could be a 2k in hand. So generally, we're not going to be using this as a ramp card. And so lastly, I want to talk about Godthread, and Godthread should not be on this list. This is about ramping on opponent's turn, and Godthread has a main effect, so it actually should be in the last section. It is a tech card where we can use our main and KO one of our opponents and ramp a card. Not on opponent's turn, doesn't have counter. This is in the wrong section. Sorry about that. Let's go to the next section though. So now we're going to talk about beaters, and beaters are an important concept, even particularly into this Lucy. I might accidentally call Lucy Sabo. Sorry if I do that. Into Lucy, because the 7 cost Sabos that they have, they're a 9,000 power, and we need a way to actually hit into them. And also we need a way to hit into the leader. So these are the real workhorses of the deck. I like Monet in there. I think anything sort of, you could say anything 5,000 or above is a beater. But the thing about Monet, right, is the opponent doesn't want to KO Monet. Versus like a Rosinante here, opponent wants to KO the Rosinante. This is going to be an easy target. This here, the picker here, they are gone the moment they swing. From one swing from a Sabo, 9,000 into this, and they have some Don spare. They have ways to reduce this. This thing is going down. A Monet, they don't want to reduce this. They sometimes don't even want to swing into it because they know we're going to ramp off it. we're going to draw off it. It's going to help us a lot. This is a really strong card. Other strong cards are the Virgo being able to neg 2000 power off any opponent by just reducing 1 Don. Very, very strong. The Sabo turns into a 7000, blocker. And we can do some serious stuff with this card here. It is going to be a very strong defensive card with its protection that Virgo offers, as well as a very offensive card when we're going in for the attack. And then having the 9000 power and 10,000 power cards here, as I said at the start with our general strategy, these are going to be essential for taking down the Sabos, which in turn is going to be essential for the win. Once again, these are our core cards. These are our optional cards. I do like both of these because they are decently high. Lin will not want to be KO'd for a very strong reason. She will gain a life, so the opponent won't be targeting this. Such a high power character that has a great KO effect. They don't want to touch this. They can find ways to reduce it though. I do believe they could neg it down and remove it from the field because it doesn't have the protection of the Virgo. So probably not going to be the most useful in this matchup. This one will be quite strong in the matchup. You only need a little bit extra to use a block here. So very strong card. Not in my deck list, but very strong card as a whole. And we sort of talked about these two. I think Rosinante is going to be a strong card in this matchup because it does leave 2 Don up at the end. Not so much as a beta, but having the 2 Don up at the end, we can utilize our events. All right, let's talk about cards to push through defense. And pushing through defense is a very important topic in this matchup. In this matchup, their Sabos, their aim is to get as many Sabos as they can on the board, and they see all of their hand. They will see all of their Sabos in this match. Maybe 1 in 10 matches, they only have 3 Sabos. They will get them all out. And each Sabo is a blocker, a 9000 power blocker. We need a way to get through this. And here is where we push through defense. How do we get past the blockers? So in this, these are our core cards. These are, tech cards here. And unfortunately, the Uso Hachi isn't going to do anything really in this matchup. There is a Rebecca blocker. So, Uso Hachi can rest that Rebecca blocker. That is something it can do. It can rest a 5 cost or less if you've got 8 Don. And make sure you've got the 8 Don because, you may have reduced it significantly. Like this drops down 3. If you use a couple of other effects, you might go under the 8. So make sure you've got the 8 Don. But yeah, only affecting the Rebecca. Likewise, these will only affect the Rebecca, not the Sabo. We need a way to get rid of the Sabo or get past the Sabo. And this is where we can enter Nora Beam. Let's talk about this one first. On our opponent's turn, we can rest 2 Don to pay the cost and then return 1 back to our deck. And from that point, we can rest down any character. Any character, doesn't matter cost, doesn't matter power. We rest down any character. We rest down one of their Sabos, they lose an attack, they lose some defense. It can do a lot for us. We might be resting it down so we can attack the Sabo directly, or we might be resting it down so we can go for face and put a lot of pressure on their life. The other way we can do this is through our 10 cost, and this is the perfect way to do it because the Sabo, the blocker Sabo, is a 7 cost, 9000 power. It's a 7 cost. This means what we can do is either of these 2 effects. We can either KO a Sabo, which is kind of useful if we're trying to establish one of these early on and they have, say, 2 Sabos on board. Maybe we just KO one. If we've got another 10 cost in our hand, that is a really good strategy. Just take one of the Sabos out. The other way we can use this card is to finish. We can rest down 3 Sabos at once. Well, we're not resting them down. We're locking them so they can't attack, they can't block until the end of their turn. So not only are we getting through their defense, we're saving ourselves a massive onslaught from them on our next turn. So if we're able to drop this down, lock down their board, and then back it with another one, We can lock them down, and then we've got a 10 cost swinging through as well as the rest of our board. This is the way to get through, particularly into this deck. We can just push through their defense and take the win. All right, so let's talk about the key cards of the Sabo deck. The Sabo deck is one that we need to understand if we want to beat it. And let's start with their leader here. I mean, maybe I should have started here at the start of the video, but Sabo has a couple of effects here, and all are very important. The first effect can be utilized on their turn or on our turn. This is both a offensive and defensive ability. What they can do is they can trash any event from their hand. And when they trash that event, their leader will gain 1000 power for that battle, for every card that they discarded. So if they've got 10 events in their hand, they can become a 15,000 power leader. This is both as defense or attack, but just for one battle. So if we're attacking it with a, say, 10 cost Doffy, no Don added, they can discard six cards from their hand and they've got their defense. Or when they're attacking, they can just, discard their hand and have a massive attack from their leader. This is an important concept. They can do this when they attack you. The other effect that they have is Activate Main. It's a once per turn. If you have activated an event card with a base cost of 3 or more during this turn, they draw a card. So this has a draw engine built into the leader. Really important because they are going to draw a lot of cards. And, I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on for a sec. I do suspect the Bandai had banned Pudding because they want this card to succeed, and Pudding would have ruined this card, this whole deck. Pudding would have been ruined by. So I do expect with that ban that we've had recently that Lucy will be a little bit stronger in the current format because it's going to do a little bit better now into the blue-yellow decks, the Boa and the Nami. All right, so now we understand the leader. Let's talk about what their key cards are. Now, we've got 3 that we're going to see the majority of. Where there's also a Viola, which is just a searcher, so I didn't throw her in her. You'll see her come out as well, but primarily you're going to see Cavendish is going to be the first attacker that you find on the board that's going to be attacking, and it's going to try and stick around turn after turn. It will be drawing cards turn after turn as well. So draw 2, trash 1. Every time they're building their hand from this card and they're building their hand from this card. So, they get their draw for turn. They're going to get this effect out. They're going to get this effect out. That's plus 3 cards every turn. Unless you can really take out 4 cards from their hand each turn, you will not win through natural attrition here. This is a very hard deck to win that way. They're more likely to deck out than lose to attrition. So keep that in mind. This is the first attacker. This one here is a searcher, but it's also a blocker. So, I talked about the Uso Hachi. The Uso Hachi would be the target for an Uso Hachi if you're to use it that way. Realistically, the 10 cost Doffy can take care of this and this at the same time. The Sabo is the main event for this deck. It is centered around this card. Everything revolves around this card. 7, forget that it has no counter because it's never going to be used as counter anyway. They need all 4 of these on the field. 7 cost, 9,000 power. It's a blocker. It's a massive blocker. It's a massive attacker. But more than that, on play, if your leader has the Dressrosa type, which it does, activate up to 1 Dressrosa type event card from your hand. This is where things get crazy because then they're dropping these bombs here. These, 7 costs, they've got these 2 here are also Dressrosa events. This is massive because they can play this 7 and drop a 7. Like there's no restriction on cost. They can play a 7 cost event off a 7 cost card. This 7 cost card is already strong, just as a 9k blocker. But then to drop this off as well is huge. And, Fire Fist here, up to 1 of your leaders gains 3,000 power during this turn. So they play this down. This is now an 8,000 power. Up to one of your opponent's characters gets negative 8,000 power until the end of their turn. So they drop this down. This becomes a 8k. And then, our our 8 cost Doffy, 9,000 power, gets dropped down to a 1,000 power until the end of our turn. So we're not attacking with it. We lose an attacker through this combo. This is huge. So they're attacking big with this. We lose power from, whatever we've got. And if we've got a blocker down, like the Rosinante Law, now it's not able to block or it's taken out. And then you may trash 2 cards from your hand. If you do this, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 0 power or less. This would take out, unless you got the Virgo down, this is going to take something out. This is where you need the Virgo because this will be KOing something on the field. And they have other ways to neg power as well. So nothing's untouchable from this card. If you haven't planned for it, nothing's untouchable. So make sure you get your Virgo down to protect yourself from this. And also the Barry pistol. This one here will just, remove a 6,000 power or less to the bottom of the deck. Very strong. You usually see this one first. You usually see this one second. We'll go through the curve in a sec, but these ones are really, really strong stuff. And it's all coming off the Sabo. So turn after the turn, they're going to do Sabo, building their board, removing your board. That's their strategy. That's how they're running this deck. Once they have their board fully built and they've, hit you enough times, then what they're going to do is drop the Roger. You now don't have blockers. You're going to face a board of 5 plus the leader. And don't forget, this leader doesn't need Don from this one here because it can just discard its hand, drop all of these events, and now it's, a massive leader, and you've got all of these series of 9,000 power or more coming at you, which you can't block. This is how they win. We'll talk about that later, but Roger is there, usually just a one-off in the deck. Very strong card. Do not forget about him. I always forget that he exists, and then he pops up, and I'm like, that's right, Roger. Don't do that. Don't do that. They play Roger. You will see Roger. All right, let's have a look at the curve. All right, so let's have a look at their going first curve, and I'm only going to talk about their going first curve because their going second curve is basically the same thing. There will be a slight ordering change. I mean, if they're going second, basically what can happen is the Cavendish can be played a turn earlier, but whatever they're going to do in this slot here is now here because the Sabo doesn't come out any quicker. This is the quickest way to get the Sabo out. This is why they want to go first. So going first, they're trying to establish probably a Rebecca first up. And, this one's great because they can throw a Don on later, turn it into a blocker. Very useful to protect the Cavendish when that comes down, but also they're able to search for the cards they want. They're looking for Cavendish at this stage, or possibly the Sabo. Their turn 2 is a bit of a dead turn. Really, they're just trying to search more here, find the pieces that they need. They might play Viola as well to search more. This card to search. If you've established something good on the field, they might use, an event, but more than likely, and they use an event and then they're able to use the draw effect from their leader anyway. So it's not the worst thing to use an event if you've got a decent target on the field. So do be aware of that could also come out. Yeah, as I said, turn 3, they're dropping the Cavendish. Cavendish is a very strong card for them. The draw 2 trash 1 every time they attack, and they want to have dropped the Rebecca down so they can protect this on that first turn that they attack. They're also going to, they can't attack the turn this is dropped. They're attacking on their turn 4. The turn 4, they're dropping the Sabo first, dropping a card here. As I mentioned in the last slide, it could be one of the 7 costs. The Fire Fist might be the first one they drop. Might be Barry Pistol. They're going to want to do something to try and take you down, or basically change the balance of the board so they've got more on the board than you do. And if they've got the Sabo and the Rebecca on board, Cavendish is now free to attack without getting attacked by you. And if they were able to take something out, they're going to have a good time attacking with Cavendish, and Cavendish is just going to stick around. Even though it's not terribly tall, it's going to stick around because it's got enough defense around it. Essentially, once the Sabo comes out, Turn after that, turn 5 is a sabo, turn 6 is a sabo, turn 7 is a sabo. If they get to turn 8, it's just a distribution of Don here, maybe dropping Rebecca, maybe dropping some things, just whatever they can do. It's just distributing Don from that point until they can drop the Roger and take you out. So let's talk about our curves here. Our curves, this is sort of what I see as our ideal going first curve. If we win the dice roll, this is what we want to do because it is a little bit more aggressive for us. So we're going to have a slightly better game this way. Turn 1, we want to find Dellinger is the best card always, no matter what matchup. Dellinger is the best card we can find turn 1. Turn 2, combination Dellinger, Sugar. What happens here doesn't really matter too much. If we don't find anything here, throw 3 Don onto Dellinger, swing and attack. No harm in doing that. Okay, so here, turn 3, this is where I would prioritize Virgo. Usually, we would want to be ramping at this stage because we ramp here and it means we can go into this Doffy on our turn 4. In this case, we don't want to do that. In this case, it's not going to help us too much. What we're better off doing is getting the Virgo down, making sure they can't remove something from our field. Because remember, on their turn 4, they're going to be dropping this Sabo, and Sabo is going to be removing something through one of these cards here. Yes, they could possibly do something here on the turn 2, but on the turn 2, all they're going to be removing is one of these cards. If we can get this down early before the Sabo comes down on their turn 4, then we're going to be set up for the game. So we need to get this down. Even having 2 Virgos in the game isn't a bad thing. Get this down now. Turn 4, we drop the Monet. This gives us a little bit of ramp. Not necessary, but gives us the ramp. So we could play a 10 cost on turn 5. But more than likely, unless we've got 2 10 costs, I wouldn't do that. If we've got 2 10 costs in hand, yeah, do that. Take out a Sabo. Otherwise, drop the 8. Play this 8 cost Doffy. Rosinante's great option. Another Virgo, great option. Another Monet, even fine. And then look to do the 10 cost in a later turn. But if you do have 2 10 costs in hand, yeah, take out a Sabo now. All right, so if we're going second, it's pretty much going to be very, very similar here. We still want to get the Virgo down on that curve. We want to get it down early. We can get a ramp here, which means we can still play the 8 cost early. But what we want to do ideally is just aim to get this Virgo down and happy days from there. We can get the 5 costs, on turn 5, we can get the 10 cost down, take out the Sabo. As I said, taking that Sabo down early is going to be a critical part of the strategy. I'm going to try and demystify this whole thing now, because if you understand the end game, then you have a plan to work towards during the rest of the game. So let's have a look at this now. All right, this is an incredibly messy slide, but I'm going to walk you through each component of it right now. So Lucy, as I suggested, what he's trying to do, he's trying to build up a board of Sabos. This will happen if you don't take him down quick enough or the Sabo down quick enough. So let's understand this first. This is the typical win con position of Lucy. These 5 on the board, the Roger comes down. We don't have any blockers left. We have a very fortunate position compared to other decks that we can redirect still, even with the Roger here. But how do you think we're going to fare with 1 life against 7 attacks? Because this is 5, 6, 7 attacks. This is rush. How do you think we're going to fare against 7 attacks? The lowest being a 6, the rest being above 9. Can we survive this with 1 life? You would say not a chance, but Doffy can. And I think if you understand this, then it becomes a little bit easier. And if you understand why we can win this, then you'll understand where we actually need to target to make it even easier again. So how do we survive this? Well, first off, if we do have the Rosinante, we can have 2 Don up at the end of our turn. This is key. Next, as I said, we need this 10 cost. This 10 cost is our win con. We need the 10 cost the turn before. We need to prevent this from happening. We see 3 or more Sabos on the field. We're dropping the Doffy down. We lock down 3 of these. And let's say they've got this position here. We lock down 3 of these. They now only have 1, 2, 3, potentially 4 attacks. This is fine. If they attack with Cavendish, which is likely where they'll start, they attack with Cavendish, we use a Nora Beam here. Nora Beam already gets us out of this attack. We can rest down a Sabo. If they attack with the Sabo, that's fine. We Nora Beam this one. We're up to, we're a 7. We need a 2k and a 1k then to get out of that, which is possible, and we rest down this. At this stage here, we still have a life. We've taken care of the board, right? We have taken care of everything on the board. They can choose to attack with Lucy and drop the Roger. I mean, the reason why they want to attack with the Cavendish first is they attack with the Cavendish, then they play the Roger over it, then they can attack with the Sabo and it's unblockable. This is why they attack with Cavendish first. So we shouldn't need the counter from our hand, but every chance they could switch things around because they don't think they're going to get the Roger down this turn. So if that does happen, we've taken care of all of their characters on the field. The Lucy now, if they want to boost this thing up, they need to commit all of the cards from their hand. They lose their defense. They need to make sure that they're going to get through this turn. And if we have 1 life here and a redirect still, they can't get through with these 2 cards. They can't get through with these 2 cards. This is a definite win for us. The other thing I want to say is if you've got on your board, say, a Viola here, and they attack with a Sabo first, you block with the Viola before they play the Roger down. And this is the other way that you can do this, is they attack with the Cavendish, right? That's fine. They attack with the Cavendish. Let's redirect this one into Viola. Viola picks up a Nora Beam from the trash. Then if they want to play this Roger down, we're going to rest one of those 2 cards. We can rest one of the 2 cards with the Nora Beam. So if you've got that 3k encounter and you do this after, you could rest down the Roger, take on the Sabo. They attack with the Roger, you take that, you rest down the Sabo, then they have to go all in with this Lucy here. What I'm trying to say here is, if they've got more than 3, we still have a way of dealing with it. It gets a little bit trickier, but let's have a look at this a different way. Let's say they have 1 less Sabo here. They got 3 Sabos we can lock down. Well, now we're only going to deal with it. You drop the Roger at the start. They swing with Cavendish. No worries. We Nora Beam a Roger down. Then we only have to deal with the Lucy. The 1 life will be fine. We've still got a redirect. We're still fine. Everything is fine here. If they've only got 2 Sabos, then we can lock down the 2 Sabos and say a Rebecca blocker or a Cavendish. Things are getting a lot easier. All we really need to do is take down 1 Sabo though, and we can lock the other 3 down. So in your game, if your plan is to take out 1 Sabo and you've got a Doffy left to lock down the other 3, you are in a very, very strong position to win this as a whole. And this is what our goal should be. Take down 1 Sabo, then put enough pressure on life that you can go for game. And if you do it too early, if you put the pressure on life too early, they take it and then they're in Roger zone. And the way they play the Roger is not to have you at 0, it's to have them at 0. Be aware of that. Let's check out all of this let's check it out in a game. All right, we get the choice. I'm going to take second because this is typically what you would see. And I'm going to keep this. I prefer Dallinger over this one here, but this isn't the worst. The reason I'm keeping is we have the Virgo, we have the Monet. They're both great cards. Ideally, we would have the 4-cost sugar. I mean, we do have ramp, so this is still going to be a great game here. And let's find a card. We'll grab the 8-cost. We do want one of those high-level cards out to be able to attack into the Sabo. So far, shaping up to be really strong. Next turn, we drop the baby 5 with ramp 1. We get the Virgo down, and then the turn after that, we can go into this card. All right. And we just take that. That's fine. All right. So baby 5. Drop that. We use the 1. We attack 6. They might block. They might just take this. Saving this Rebecca to protect the Cavendish, which we should see come down now. Okay, no, they're still searching. And dropping another Rebecca, 5k at face, which we're just going to take. They're up to 9 cards in hand, so they're doing quite nicely. I mean, we could protect it, but there's no need to protect this. There's no puddings in play anymore. So I feel like our general best strategy is build our hand as big as we can get it. All right, there's one 10 cost. We have a 10 cost. We'll drop this down. Now, once again, their Rebecca has no Don on it, so they can't block. They either have to lose from hand or lose a life. They might choose a life. Yep. And this is where things are going to start to get a bit harder. Sabo can come down now. They didn't find a Sabo. This is not a good game for them. They got the Cavendish down though. And then I would expect they're going to put some defense on a Rebecca, at least one. They're going to do both. And this one, we can take this as well. I feel comfortable on 3 into this deck. And yeah, doubling up here. And we found the second 10 cost, which means we need a way to chain it. This means we are going to play this turn. I think what we're going to do, we can go for the 8 into the 5. I think this is a very, very strong move. Let's do that. The other thing I was considering here is doing a 5 and another Virgo. But this is still very, very strong here. So let's do this. And we can do an extra. Realistically, it's all blocked, right? So I'm just going to do a 7. I might do another 7. We'll see how things look. All right, we'll do the other 7. I don't think they want to block. Okay, we're going to take 3 cards from their hand. 2 cards, they had a 2k. Okay. Another Rebecca. They've still got the Don. They can play down the Sabo. Go for some removal. Which we need to Negadon to save. They might not, but yep, nothing at 0 cost. So then no removal. But yeah, they've prevented a big attack. Okay. Now they've still got this one to come. So we're not going to do the redirect yet. What we want to do is just protect it from a hand. We've got next to no counter. But we protect this one. So when this one comes in, we can redirect it. And we can't redirect here. This is a bit big. Let's redirect this one at our face. Because I want to save this one for a 10 cost. Okay, so here we go. We've got, as I said, we want to take down a Sabo. They've got no blockers, so we can still hit in. We're going to do this now. A 10, 3. We're going to remove this one. That's done. Okay. Now we're just going to attack weak into these ones. I might even try and take out this here. So do a 6 in now. They might take this. Yep. And because they took that, what I'm going to do, oh, it triggered out. No, we're not going to attack with this after all. We just end the turn there. And what they want to do now, they want to establish a Sabo as 1. This will add extra defense. And then the 2 1s go on here and here. So they've got a 3 blockers. 3 blockers. Remember, we took out a Sabo, now they've only got 3 blockers. 6. This is the only 6k attack for the turn. So we need to make this one count. We redirect in here. We take that. We're going to trash a card. We don't need another 8. We gain 2. We now have the 8 Don. We go into 10 next turn. We are chaining this card. And this, from this point here, it's a definite win. It's a definite win. So 1, 2, 3. We can rest down this time. I mean, technically I could just KO this again, but we're going to rest down and apply a lot here. We're going to apply a lot. So let's start off with a 5 at face. We're just going to send all of this at face because we're not at any sort of risk next turn. All right, we're going to do a 7 at face. This could trigger something out and reduce one of these down. So we might not be winning this turn. But that's not the point here. The point here is to put enough pressure on that after this, they can't do anything. Okay, and we could further make this worse for them by just attacking in here, but let's just take their last life, and then they can't attack with this card here. They need this blocker. I mean, they can't attack anyway, but they need this blocker. They need another blocker. There's another Sabo. Event can reduce, which is what they want to do because that's like less attack, and they might swing into this as well. Yeah. Obviously, they're going to swing in twice, trying to reduce this down as much as possible. And I don't really have the counter to protect it. I've got 1, 2, 3k in counter. It's not going to be enough. So there's no point redirecting now when this thing can then take it out on the next swing anyway. So let's force that interaction anyway. I'm going to force that interaction. Neg 1, we send it in here. And that way, if they don't take it down, yeah, because they had the extra Don, they could have taken something else out as well. So this is the way to protect these cards. Okay, 3 blockers, 4 blockers. This is a lot. And we didn't manage our Don, so we couldn't chain it. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to set up for an additional turn. So we could, 4 blockers, we could attack with these 4, take everything out, potentially. If I save one of these down. All right, so let's start here. Let's do a 9k attack. I imagine the Rebecca, these 2 are the first to go. Okay. Interesting. So, if that's the case, what we're going to do and they concede at this point. So, let's just you know, there was a little bit left in this game, but let's actually walk through why they just conceded. So, they did concede a little bit quick here, but I think it was a very valid concede. And let's have a look a little bit about what their board currently is like and how this would have panned out. We have 4 attacks left, and no matter what I do here, they're surviving this turn. Essentially, if we divide the rest of our Don, 8 Don, between these two, because they've got 1, 2, 3 blockers left, and I've got no way at the moment to rest down these blockers. So they've got 3 attacks left. If I distribute my Don, I've basically got 1, 2, 3 7k attacks and a 10k. They, at the moment, they've got 2k in counter, but they also have this effect here. They can turn this into a 1k. So they actually have 8k, or they can get their leader up to 8k. They can get out of one of these attacks, therefore block the other ones, and they survive. And the way that they block these is, you know, you're blocking the 9k is going to block a 7. So they're going to lose the 2 Rebeccas, and at the end of the turn, essentially, they'd be left with the Sabo, and Cavendish. So that's quite a strong, you know, going into the next turn. This, you know, you might think this is really bad for us, but it's not. Because we've got 9 cards in hand and we could set up for this differently. What we would be doing is threatening that we could take everything down. We're attacking with the 10, we're attacking with the 7, we're attacking with this, maybe at another 7. We still have 6 cards left, right? Still have 6 cards. What we would probably be doing is attacking with an 8 instead, playing down a Viola, and playing down or saving 2 for a bullet string. This is ideal. We can defend, we can redirect into a baby 5 on their turn. So they're going to have 4 attacks, plus they've still got the Roger here. They've got 5 attacks. They're going to be unblockable attacks. And if they go in for this, they've got 5 attacks. 1 will be redirected. This will turn into a life. Then they've got 2, 3, 4 attacks taken care of. We need to take care of 1 attack. It'll be this card here. They would have lost this event, so it's going to be a 5k at face. All we need is 1k of counter. And if they didn't lose this event, we just need 2k of counter. We are fine. We are more than fine to get out of this. We get out of that attack. They've got nothing left. They've swung all of their Sabos. They've lost their Rebeccas. We go in for the win. Our board is too big. Our hand is too big. Even though we've got a lot of dead cards, they don't know that. 9 cards is a bit daunting to go into. They conceded on the spot. They saw where this was headed. We had full control of the board. And why did we have full control of the board? Because we took care of 1 Sabo. 1 Sabo made that difference. And here's the 4 Sabo. As I said, they see all of their Sabo in this game. This is how we take it down. I did another video the other day, so if you do want to check out another game, have a look at that video up in this link here. I do take on Sabo. I'm not going to repeat that same video in this one, but that is a very, very instructional video as well, so please check that one out. Let's jump back into the guide. Thanks for checking out this guide, everyone. It was great having you. I'm going to do a lot more of these guys. I want to do one for each of the new leaders. I hope I do it for each of the new leaders. If there's one that's just too easy that we don't need to worry about, maybe I won't do that. But I do want to cover all of those. I do plan on doing Nami soon. I was going to do her first, but with the recent ban, I thought, it was announced. I didn't want to start preparing a guide on how to beat her if the ban was going to affect her a lot. Now that I understand about it, what the ban is, I can really dive into her deck list and break it all down and make sure I give you guys the best guides possible. If you do like these guides, if you got something from today, please give me a like. I love subs as well. I'm very close to 1,000, so hit that sub button if you do think it is worth checking out the next guide, which I will have for you soon. Probably going to be doing either. Enel looks like it is going to be a very prominent deck, even more so with the recent ban. So want to check out Enel, Nami. I think those two are on the top of my list at the minute. If there's other leaders that you do want to see a guide for, let me know in the comments what that is, and I will see you guys on the next video. Until next time, look after yourselves and look after your decks.